Everyone, and welcome back to Fairy Tale Family. In the past we've talked about the good parts of Walt Disney World, and I'm going to share with you this week the bad and the ugly. So basically my top 5 worst Walt Disney World experiences. So those of you who are new to the channel, welcome. My name is Brittany and I am part of Fairy Tale Family. We are a family vlog where we do home vlogs, travel vlogs, and try to educate you on all things Walt Disney World. If you're new to the channel, make sure you hit the subscribe and like button, and if you're returning, thanks so much for coming back. So as I said before, this week we're going to talk about my top 5 worst Walt Disney World experiences. So starting in at number 5 happened actually many years ago, and that was when I got sick on Tower of Terror, and that is a personal fail. So that's nothing that Disney did, that's just me being silly. I ate too much, went on the Tower of Terror, and was extremely sick afterwards. So some advisement to anybody who's going to go on the ride: do not eat a full meal beforehand. It's not very fun. They're not kidding when they say, try to do it when you hadn't just eaten, because it's not fun. Coming in at number 4 is a Splash Mountain fail, and that is a Walt Disney World fail. So I was there for spring break during college with one of my roommates, and we were so excited because we both love Splash Mountain, and we got on, and we had been waiting in line for hours, and we got halfway through the ride and it completely shut down. So Splash Mountain is currently under renovations, I think primarily because of the amount of times it shuts down. But we were at the part before you go down to the Laughing Place, and we actually had to get escorted out, which is a little wonky to walk on the sides of the ride. If you guys have ever done that before, it's a little bit of a weird experience. And then they take you backstage. And you're not allowed to take cameras, or can't take your cameras out and take photos and videos, because they don't want you sharing what it's like behind the ride at all. But that is a Walt Disney World fail. I'm actually very excited they're redoing Splash Mountain, just because of the amount of times it has broken down in the past, and probably the amount of fast passes they've had to give away because of it. I think it'll benefit Walt Disney World overall, having it revamped. So coming in at number 3 is again a Walt Disney World fail, and that is the Space Mountain fail. So we had tried to get on Space Mountain. This is another spring break trip that we had taken with my roommate and her boyfriend at the time, and it was our second to last day. It was actually our last day at Magic Kingdom, and all week we had tried to get on Space Mountain, and the ride kept breaking down. They had a lot of mechanical issues with it, which was actually pretty scary. And so we had fast passes and we went to go use it, and the ride had shut down. It was right at park closure. So we were really upset about it, and we went to guest services, and they gave us 3 fast passes that we could use on any ride throughout the remainder of our Walt Disney World stay, and that was really great. So this was before they had the My Disney World Experience app. They actually gave us paper fast passes that you literally could use anywhere, so there was no limitation as to the rides, because the tiers did not exist at that time. So that was kind of a nice thing they did for us, because again, we weren't planning on going back to Magic Kingdom, and it was right when the park closed, it shut down on us. So another ride, shut down fail, but at least we got fast passes out of it. So my second worst Walt Disney World experience happened at Pop Century, and this is a girls trip I took prior to the wedding planning. So my maid of honor and I went down and just did some pre-wedding planning before the actual wedding planning, and it was more just for the two of us to have some fun and some bonding and kind of come up with a game plan for the wedding. And we were staying at Pop Century, and we had done the Magical Express with the luggage service, and they had lost our luggage at Pop Century. So this all ties into my number 1 worst Walt Disney World experience, but they had lost our luggage. We had gotten to the hotel at 4. Our luggage was supposed to be there by 7, because it's supposed to be a 3-hour time frame from the time you check in, and it didn't get there till 11 p.m. at night. So that was horrible, because we needed our PJs, we needed this, we needed that. So the lesson learned there is whenever we use the Magical Express service now, We hadn't had an issue at any other resort, just Pop Century. We will pack a small carry-on with some necessity items, just in case our luggage gets lost again. Which brings me to my worst Walt Disney World experience, and this was when I was pregnant with Henry. If you guys haven't watched my pregnancy at Walt Disney World videos, I'll actually link them down below. But I was pregnant, and we were switching from the Swan and Dolphin to Pop Century. We were only at Pop Century for 2 nights, and it was the last night of our trip because there was nothing available at Swan and Dolphin. And we got to we got to Pop Century, and we dropped off our luggage. And they said, you know, we're gonna keep this here. We'll bring it to your room. You know, check back in your room in a couple hours. It should be there. And they lost our luggage. So we had gone to Disney Springs after this. Now keep in mind, I'm pregnant, right? So I'm already emotional, and I'm there with my mom and my sister, and it had started torrential downpouring when we left Disney Springs. Like, we were absolutely soaked. Our shoes were soaked. Everything was soaked. And this is 4 hours after we checked in at Pop Century, and we got to the resort so excited. We were going to shower, put on dry clothes, and be good to go for the rest of the night, and they lost our luggage. So Pop Century, again, with losing luggage. It's a pattern. I don't know what to tell you guys. I think it's because they use a different service. So when this had all happened, I actually went down to speak to the manager, because as a Disney travel consultant, I was like, I really can't advertise for people to stay here if you guys lose luggage, because this is not the first time this has happened. And she was actually telling us that the value resorts do not use Disney employees as their bellhop services. It's a contracted out service at the value resorts, which I guess is, you know, kind of the pros of staying at a deluxe resort or a moderate resort, is that it's an in-house service with those, but the value resorts, it's an outsourced. So they hire from different agencies to come in and do this, and it just, Pop Century is probably the worst. So just keep that in mind if you're staying at Pop Century. That is the biggest con of staying there, is that they lose luggage, and I've had 2 instances of it happening in the past 3 years. And I love Pop Century for the pricing. I love the theme of the resort. It's really convenient out with the Skyliner. It's also right next to Art, which I love to go and visit, Art of Animation, but them losing my luggage twice, I would be surprised if I ever stayed there again. Just, it really put a bad taste in my mouth. But honestly, if these are the 5 worst things that have happened to me at Walt Disney World, then I'm good, because I've heard a lot worse stories than this. And that's really a lot of times why people end up hiring travel consultants, Walt Disney World travel consultants, because 1, they're free, and 2, they work with you to avoid these fails. So these are just fails I wanted to share with you guys to give you some tips. You know, don't eat before going on Tower of Terror. Expect ride breakdowns, and if they happen, make sure if you don't get compensated in some way, you go to guest services and get compensated, and be wary of the luggage services at Pop Century. It was not fun. It took them, from the time I went down to the management services, it took them an additional 2 hours to find our luggage. Meanwhile, we're all soaked, just waiting for clothes to come in, and we had dinner reservations, and it was just a mess. So yeah, so be wary of those things when you're planning your Walt Disney World trip. This should be hopefully the only kind of negative video that I post in 2021, because everything else that we have to say about Disney is great, and we try to keep things light and happy on the channel. So if you guys have had your own personal Disney fails, let me know. Comment down below. I'm interested to hear what other fails. Maybe you've had similar fails than what I've had. You know, in 28 years, these are my 5 worst. So if you've had something far worse happen to you, I apologize. It stinks, but please share it, because I definitely want to know about it. Once again, make sure you guys like and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you next week.